F9, The Fast Saga is now the 9th installment into the 20-year-old Fast and Furious franchise. Once again, the film stars, bringing back from past films, Vin Diesel, Michelle Rodriguez, Tyrese Gibson, Ludacris, Natalia Emanuel, Jordana Brewster, Kurt Russell, Charlize Theron, Sung Kang, and also brings in the new cast member, Dom's brother, played by John Cena. The film takes place a couple years after Fate of the Furious, and Dom and the crew are now going after a big global terrorist, played by Dom's brother, who is Dom's brother, played by John Cena. My name is Max, and we're about to have a brand new review here on Max Talk. Today we'll talk about the highly anticipated summer blockbuster, F9. Before we get my non-spoiler thoughts of this movie, please consider liking the video, guys. That's the best way to support this channel. Also, please comment down below your thoughts of the film. If you've already seen this film in theaters, tell me to see on IMAX, regular screen. Tell me, where does this film rank for you in the Fast and Furious franchise? Also, if you've not seen the film, let me know, will you see this one this weekend in theaters? Also, please consider subscribing and ringing the bell if you're new to the channel. I do movie reviews like these, TV show reviews, movie rankings, a box office breakdown show, all those things. Please consider subscribing and ringing the bell for notifications. Now let's my thoughts of F9. So I went to a Thursday night screening of this movie. It was the first time since the pandemic my theater was basically sold out. It was the first time I was sitting next to someone in a movie theater. I saw an IMAX. I got the Jurassic World trailer that only you get to see if you see F9 in IMAX. And I'll talk about that later. But I was really, really excited for the film because I do really enjoy this franchise. I really love Fast 5, 6, and 7. That little trilogy of 5, 6, 7 for me is really, really excellent. I was not a big fan of Fate of the Furious, and I was kind of worried heading into this movie. Now, I was excited that Justin Lin, who has taken a break from directing this franchise, is back. Justin Lin directed 3 through 6. And again, 5 and 6 are my two favorite of the franchise. Now, while Tokyo Drift and 4 are not, he's the one who kind of brought this franchise back to life in a huge way. And the first 4 films, it was a pretty forgettable franchise. And once 5 and 6 came out with him directing it, the franchise was taken a lot more seriously, and a lot more people were loving the franchise. Now, James Wan did 7 and F. Gary Gray did 8. So Justin Lin is back for F9. But again, the big issue obviously is Paul Walker is not back. And you also are basically without Hobbs in the movie as well. So there's a lot of missing pieces to the overall team. And for me, I'll go to my positives right away. I had a fun time in the theater watching this movie. Now, yes, it can get way too ridiculous. And at times, really, the film itself doesn't make a whole lot of sense on what's going on. But I still did care for a lot of the characters in the film because of past films. But really what made the film work is just that it's a fun movie. It's a 2.5-hour movie. It is long, but it really does just fly by. There's a lot of fun action scenes, especially one where Ramsey, played by Natalia Emanuel, is driving a car. It's one of my favorite action scenes in the film. There's an action scene in Tokyo with Letty and Mia that is really, really good as well. And I just think like the action scenes itself, it's a fun movie. It's really easy to watch. There's funny jokes throughout the film. I was pretty much laughing throughout the film. Now, there were at times I was laughing where I was not supposed to be laughing, but I was laughing at a lot of the jokes, especially the Roman Tej banter, which is usually on point. I think it was more on point than Fate of the Furious, but still not really saying much. And I did love this idea of Dom and Letty having this kid, and the fact of now they have different responsibilities than any of the other films, is because now Dom is a father, now Letty technically is the mother now of this film. I thought Ramsey had the most to do out of her 3 movies. She had stuff to do in 7, not really a lot to do in Fate of the Furious. She had a lot to do in this movie action-wise. She's not just a tech person in the movie. She has to get down and dirty into the action. It was nice to see Mia back into the franchise. Again, these are likable characters that if you care about the franchise, you're going to like. But again, it's a ridiculous film. But I do have to talk about negatives. I will put in my positives, but it's tough to talk about this movie without talking about the critiques with the film. Again, another positive, Charlize Theron is good when she's in the movie. But let's go, and Helen Mirren has a really great scene in the movie as well. But let's go into the negatives. And for me, The film at times just is a mess. At times it is, again, it's way too ridiculous. And most of the things that happen in the movie make absolutely no sense. And I thought things weren't making sense in Fate of the Furious. This goes on a whole other level as each film continues to topple the other in its stunts and the ridiculousness of what is going on. But this film, I think the most out of all the Fast films, has a major problem with balancing the ridiculous action that makes no sense and trying to have a grounded, serious Toretto family story. And that's what the film is not balancing at all. At times, they want to take this Dom, there are so many flashbacks in the movie. It's like 4 or 5 flashback scenes to young actors playing Dom and Jacob in the movie. And they're trying to really buy into why John Cena's character has never been brought up in the 20-year franchise up to this point. Why it took 9 films to finally get him involved in the franchise. And there's also just drama about this a tragedy with the Toretto's father that happens in the opening of the film, and how that sets up Jacob's character for going bad. Now, this film at times does take itself too seriously because the rest of the film is ridiculous. There are action scenes that make absolutely no sense, how people are surviving things, how cars are flying, how cars are going into space. It really just doesn't really make a lot of sense. But while that's happening, you just have to choose one of these options. If you want to make a Toretto family story, make that the main thing of the movie. But if you're gonna do, and if you want to do ridiculous action scenes for 2 hours, then do that and don't even apologize for it. But you can't really have both in the same movie. You can't go for a serious story with the Toretto tragedy and then try to go on and do these action scenes that make no physics sense at all. It's a tough balance for the movie, and that really comes down to a really poorly written film for Jacob's character. Now, don't get me wrong. Again, I grew up, I'm a huge WWE fan, mega WWE fan, never a big fan of John Cena in the ring or on the mic or anything like that. I'm not a John Cena hater. I do not blame him wholeheartedly for this movie because this is a character that needed a lot more writing to it. I think the younger actor who played young Jacob had a lot more to do than John Cena himself playing the present day Jacob Toretto, because you don't really get really why you kind of get why he's the villain. Be like, why would he become a terrorist off of the things that happen in the openings of the movie? I think another missed opportunity was the Mia and Jacob dynamic. They really tried to ham home this Dominic and Jacob dynamic, and they completely forgot at times that Mia was a part of the family, which I thought was a huge mistake as well with the film. But really, they tried to do some serious, and this is where John Cena comes in, really Vin Diesel as well. They try to do some serious talking scenes between Vin Diesel and John Cena, and it just did not work. My theater was kind of chuckling whenever they would say a line. John Cena has a lot of looks in the film that are supposed to be taken seriously that me and the theater were hysterically laughing at. And the character was written poorly. Now, John Cena was not very good in the movie, but also he didn't have any writing to help him get through this movie because his writing is very limited. He's just a bad guy who happens to be Dom's brother. He's in a couple, really is like one main John Cena versus Vin Diesel fight, and that was not as good as when we saw Vin Diesel fight The Rock for the first time in Fast 5. It was not even close to that level. Again, and he also didn't really feel like the villain of the movie. Like, it was weird because the writing wants him to be the main villain, but he also has people working for John Cena who want to be even more villainous than John Cena. And then you also have Cypher, played by Charlize Theron, who also is barely in the movie. So she was heavily promoted. Look at her. She's the same size as John Cena in the poster. She is not in the movie at all. She has, I think, 3 total scenes in the entire movie. She has 2 scenes where she's just in a box talking to someone, and then she comes out of the box for 1 scene. It is ridiculous that she was not the main villain of the movie. And I don't know what they're going to, it was just a misfire. You can see a lot of highly capable actors just getting paychecks in the movie, like Charlize Theron, who again is really good in the movie. She has my favorite line of the entire movie. But you see, Charlize is barely in the movie. Helen Mirren has 1 scene. Kurt Russell's here and there, not really in the movie that much as well. it was just weird seeing a lot of these actors. Again, this is not a poorly acted movie, but there are times where it is poorly acted. Really, when they get serious with Vin Diesel and John Cena, you can really see where the acting is not quite there. And the character of Jacob just needed to be written to be more important. Also, you need to know how Han came back. They explained it. It didn't really make a lot of sense. And the problem with bringing all these types of characters now back from the dead is that the franchise loses stakes. It's one thing to bring back Letty. Now it's Han. You're bringing back so many characters that at times it loses the stakes of these films, which really did have stakes in 5 and 6, which is why those are my 2 favorite films. Those films had really high stakes of characters dying, and you think like characters are in danger. Even when characters you think are going to die, and I swear Roman could have died 5 times in the first 15 minutes of the movie, you know they're not dead because it's not that franchise. Again, you have to go into this film knowing exactly what film you're walking into. If you are walking in here hoping for a Toretto story, it's not a serious movie. It tries to be serious at times, but it's really, if you're here for plot and you want a good plot and an emotional story, it's not there. You're here for the ridiculous action. And again, I had fun enough in the theater. It's not top 5 Fast and Furious. It kind of is a disappointment at times because the film, I did miss some of the Toretto, the story, because there really wasn't a story in the movie. They just said, Dom's brother's going after them. That's kind of the story itself. There's really is kind of a backstory with Jacob and Dom that I just don't care about. So again, guys, I do feel very mixed on the film. I did have fun enough, so I'll give it a fresh review. But if you actually look at it as a film, it's pretty bad. But if you actually look at it from a Fast and Furious point of view, how ridiculous it gets, I am kind of nervous where the franchise is going, because each film continues to top the next film in its ridiculousness. And after this film, I literally asked my brother who I saw it with, how more ridiculous can they go than this film? This film, it goes double ridiculousness than Fate of the Furious. And I thought Fate of the Furious was also ridiculous. So if you didn't like Fate of the Furious, you're really not going to like this movie. If you enjoy all these films, you're going to enjoy this one. It's just what it is. You have to know what film you are walking into. So F9, The Fast Saga, for me, it's a 3 out of 5 stars, a 55%. It just quite didn't get all the way to 60%. I might even drop it down to 2.5, but I'll stick with 3 because I did have fun time watching this in a sold out theater. I had a fun time watching this. It's a movie is exclusively in theaters. Go see it in theaters. That's the best way to see F9. So that's my thoughts on F9, The Fast Saga. Please consider liking, subscribing, sharing the video, commenting, and ringing that bell. More movie reviews coming very soon.